future that never arrived and why we still want it. The broken promise of the hoverboard. Imagine this, you wake up in 2015, turn on the TV and no hoverboard, no flying cars in traffic, no pizza hydrated in 5 seconds, no self-lacing shoes. Okay, Nike tried, but it's not what we saw in Back to the Future 2. Where's the future they promised us, huh? Where are the floating cities, the robots that make breakfast and make the bed, the flying saucer-shaped buildings with escalators that go up to the moon? What happened to the tomorrow that the past swore we would have? Well, my dear disillusioned viewer, you are not alone in this existential frustration. We were robbed not by bandits, not by politicians this time, but by the timeline itself, because the future we should be living was kidnapped by reality and swapped for a world where the biggest technological advancement in recent years has been Instagram stories that disappear after 24 hours. Wow, but hold on. Don't cry on your smartphone's shoulder just yet. This future that never came has a name, Retrofuturism, and today we will uncover why, even knowing it was all a lie, we still want to believe. Why did the past believe in the future more than we do? In the 50s, 60s, and even into the 80s, the future was not just a possibility, it was a guaranteed party. People looked at science and thought, wow, in 30 years we'll have colonies on Mars, dinners in a pill, and robots that wash dishes without complaining. Today we look to 2050 and wonder, will we be able to pay rent by then? Retrofuturism is proof that our grandparents had more faith in humanity than we do. They imagined flying cars. We get excited when Uber arrives in less than 10 minutes. They dreamed of underwater cities. We are content not to sink in the sewage when it rains. What went wrong? The answer is simple. They didn't have the internet. They didn't know that the future would be spent discussing whether the egg came before the chicken or after. In Twitter forums at 3 a.m., they didn't know that we would trade space exploration for infinite scrolling on TikTok. They didn't know that instead of colonies on Mars, we would have NFTs of monkeys. But wait, maybe the problem isn't them. Did we lose the ability to dream big? Or did the future simply give up on us because we became boring people who only know how to complain? Think of retrofuturism as that meeting you set up for 8 p.m., but the person always shows up 30 minutes late and still makes up a lame excuse. Oh, sorry, love, my flying saucer broke down. Again, the Jetsons promised that by 2062, we'd be living in floating apartments with robots doing everything for us. 2062 is right around the corner, my friend, and we're still here, arguing with Alexa because she doesn't understand that turning on the living room light isn't a request to play funk at full volume. The worst part is that we know those promises were exaggerated. We knew flying cars weren't going to happen, at least not without knocking down a bunch of delivery drones. We knew no one was going to wear silver clothes every day, except at very awkward theme parties. But we wanted to believe because such a future was fun, it was colorful, it was without existential crisis. Today, the future we imagine is gray, it's dystopian, it's Mad Max, Blade Runner, or at best Black Mirror. Where did the joy go? Where did that optimism that science is going to save us go? Did we become so cynical that we can only imagine tomorrow as a worse place? Why do you still wear a t-shirt with a rocket print? Then you tell me, okay, Yankee, but why do we still like this retrofuturism thing if we know it's all a lie? Because we need hope, even if it's fake. It's like eating a brigadeiro after a bad day. You know it won't solve your problems, but at least it gives you a break from the crap. Retrofuturism is the brigadeiro of science fiction. It's us looking back and saying, hey, at least they tried. And it's not just nostalgia, you know? It's rebellion. In a world where everything seems to be going downhill, we cling to the idea that in some parallel universe, things worked out. That in some alternate timeline, we do have those self-lacing shoes, those glass dome houses, those robots serving coffee in bed without judgment. And the craziest part is that this still influences us today. Have you ever wondered why the iPhone looks like a communicator from Star Trek? Why do electric cars have designs that resemble concepts from the 60s? Why does techwear fashion look like it came out of a Sid Mead movie? Why is the past still dictating how we imagine the future? And what if we're living in the wrong future? Here comes the question that won't shut up. What if the future we want isn't ahead, but behind? What if, instead of innovating, we're just recycling the dreams of others because we've lost our creativity? Think about it. We have more technology than ever, but fewer new ideas. The science fiction movies today are remakes, reboots, or sequels. The innovations are incremental. Look, the new iPhone has a 0.3% better camera. Wow, congratulations, humanity. Have we become hostages of our own past? Is it that, instead of creating, we can only repeat? And the worst part, do we not even realize it anymore? The dirty secret of retrofuturism. But wait, don't leave yet. Because there's something no one told you about retrofuturism. It's not just nostalgia. There's a dark layer behind all that colorful aesthetic. A layer that shows that sometimes the future we idealize is just an escape from the present. In the next section, we'll dive into the dark side of this love for the past future. We'll talk about why we prefer to live in an imagined future than face the present. We'll uncover who profits from this nostalgia. And of course, we'll answer the question that never shuts up. Are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, but with more Instagram filters? Until then, tell me one thing. If you could choose to live in any imagined futuristic era from the past, which one would it be? The 50s with their rocket cars? The 80s with their cyberpunks? Or would you prefer to stay here, in our rather dull 2025, but at least with 24-hour food delivery? Let me know in the comments. I want to know if I'm the only crazy one who still wants a McFly hoverboard. The inconvenient truth about the future we love. Have you ever stopped to think that retrofuturism is basically a toxic relationship with the past? We know it won't work. We know it's all an illusion, but still we come back. We look at those images from the 50s with their shiny cities and smiling robots and think, wow, why can't the future be like that? But do we really want that future? Or do we just want to escape the present? Because, my friend, there's a detail no one tells you. That bright, colorful, promise-filled future, it was never meant for everyone. And that's where it gets ugly. Today, when we imagine the future, we still fall into the trap of thinking that technology will solve everything. When we have artificial intelligence, there will be no more poverty. When we colonize Mars, there will be no more inequality. Spoiler, there will be, because the problem was never the lack of technology. The problem is that we don't want to distribute the future. The future as a luxury buffet. But you can only look. Imagine the future as a buffet full of incredible dishes, flying cars, underwater cities, robots that give you foot massages while you watch Rick and Morty. There's just one problem. You weren't invited to eat. You can look, you can even smell. But the waiter has already told you that this buffet is only for VIP guests. That's it. Retrofuturism is that. A future that always seems possible, but never arrives for you. And we're there, on the outside, drooling at the window, while the people inside are eating to their heart's content. And the craziest part? We're still paying for the illusion. We buy t-shirts with rocket prints. We watch movies that promise an amazing tomorrow. We dream of gadgets that will never exist, because it's easier to dream than to demand. It's easier to want a hoverboard than to fight for a decent salary. It's easier to fantasize about colonies on Mars than to demand a functional healthcare system. The real consequences. The nostalgia industry. Or who profits from your longing? Then you ask me, but Enke, why do we still buy this idea if we know it's all a lie? Because there are people making money off of it, my dear. A lot of money. Retrofuturism is not just a style, it's a product. Companies know that we're tired of the present, so they sell the past as if it were the future. Look around you. Reboots of old movies, remakes of series, vintage clothes, retro appliances, even 90s design cell phones. All of this is industrial nostalgia. It's capitalism telling you, forget your problems, buy this memory. And we fall for it. We buy it because it's easier to consume nostalgia than to create something new. And it doesn't stop there. There are people building careers off of this. Have you noticed how everyone today is futuristic on LinkedIn? How everyone has a podcast about the future of work? But no one talks about the present, because the present is boring. The present is ugly. The present requires action. Retrofuturism is the opposite. It's passive. You don't need to do anything. You just need to feel nostalgia.